question everybody in America most likely is asking is, who is this Herbie Hide? Well, he's 22 years old, and he comes from Norwich, England. And the fact is, he has fought the same caliber of opponent as Michael Bentt, and he's beaten him. In fact, he's beaten more of them.
I believe in about a year and a bit of time, I believe I'll be the undisputed heavyweight champion of the world.
22-year-old Herbie Hide joins a long list of British heavyweights who have tried to ascend to the throne. He's put together a 25-0 record by beating the usual suspects in the lower echelon of the heavyweight division. The recent group included Wimpy Halstead, Bigfoot Martin, and Mike Dixon. Then came Jeff Lampkin. Herbie showed his wares. He notched his 24th knockout in 25 bouts. He says he's ready for a title, and he beat Michael Bentt.
I want to knock him out in 2 seconds. I like an early night. I want to knock him out quick, because I like to go out there and get the job done with. If I knock him out the quick, I knock him out the better. I wouldn't want to go there, but I'm prepared for 12 rounds.
Michael Bentt's road to a WBO title has been anything but predictable. After an excellent amateur career, he was ambushed early as a pro by Jerry Jones. And as is often the case in boxing, the pundits were ready to write him off. But he clawed his way back with wins like this one over Mark Wills. And when an opportunity came, he was ready. Far more ready, it turned out, than then-champ Tommy Morrison. Bentt was hurt early, but he came back, and he battered Morrison into submission. And like that, he had a crown. But is he ready to keep it? And can he hunt bigger quarry? Perhaps the start of that answer will come tonight against Herbie Hide.
I've worked too hard, man. 18 years. 18 years of getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning, you know, in Queens, New York. When it's so cold outside that the perspiration just freezes up on your face. When you breathe, it burns because your lung is like it's on fire. 18 years of that, you know, and I've worked too hard just to give it up.
So we are just about set to go, and for the announcement, here's the ring announcer, Alan Hughes.
Ladies and gentlemen, from the New Den, the home of Millwall Football Club, live and exclusive on Sky Sports and shown on SBN in the United States of America and in Holland and Scandinavia on Filmnet. Will you please welcome into the ring for the WBO Heavyweight Championship of the World, the challenger for the title, Herbie Hide!
Oh, Herbie with the high production value. It is a long walk, incidentally, from the locker rooms here to this ring, and I might add a long, cold walk.
It's important, we noted, to keep a fighter warm. We're attempting to do that with Herbie Hide, and you can see what Barry's talking about, just how long the walk it is. Born in Nigeria, now here in England, and this is a big moment for him.
Does not seem to have been affected by the height very much. Interestingly enough, though, here in Great Britain, Frank Bruno fought the other night. And I think really that took the focus off of this fight until the last couple of days.
Because, in fact, Frank Bruno remains a hero in this country. But if this young man can represent that flag and win here tonight, he'll be a hero, too.
So Herbie still has not gotten to the ring.
He's savoring the moment, shall we say, huh?
Why not? Now, of course, if Michael Bentt chooses to play that old game of making an opponent cool his heels in the ring, Herbie Hide is not helping himself here.
Not at all. And, you know, he's lingering outside this ring needlessly. Once he gets in the ring, you know Michael Bentt's going to start his walk, or shortly thereafter anyway, even without the weight. And as you say, if he waits out here and then Bentt makes him wait because he's the champion, Herbie Hide could get very cold out here.
I think it's kind of amusing that he is trying to be the man of the people so far as Great Britain is concerned, and what's he doing? Wearing a Yankees hat.
There is some irony there. I've never seen, now they're urging him to get into the ring.
Yeah, because Michael Bentt can just make him wait. And of course, the other obvious thing is a lot warmer under the lights in the ring.
Yes.
So here is Herbie Hide. And remember how long it took Herbie Hide to get to the ring. And now you know it's going to take Michael Bentt, once he starts his walk, every bit of that.
And let me tell you something. He's got a bigger entourage.
Welcome into the ring, the reigning WBO heavyweight champion of the world, Michael Bentt.
So Michael Bentt is going to take his good old time, and that's not a bad ploy at all. He talked about his entourage. He's got plenty.
And you know, Barry, you talked about the fact that this is the first time he has been in these conditions. When he fought Tommy Morrison, and we all know how Morrison enters, when he's got a home fight as he did in that one, it was Michael Bentt who was almost an afterthought. Now, all the attention focused on him.
But he does strike me as a guy who can deal with it.
He's a very articulate young guy who has an engaging personality. And you get the sense he understands what the other part of boxing is all about. The business end, the hype end, the building yourself into some kind of personality. He says he wants to be a television commentator. I don't doubt he can do it. He's pretty relaxed, huh?
Yeah, nobody's going to burst his bubble. Herbie Hide, meanwhile, stands in the ring and waits. It's a really big moment for Michael Bentt.
And it's extraordinary when you think that literally a couple of fights ago, people weren't even sure he was a journeyman. He had his loss in his first pro fight. When he beat Mark Wills on our network after being hurt early in the fight, he signaled to people that he was a potential opponent type. Now here he is in a big stadium in a foreign country defending a crown.
But yet the fact is, he still can't use that term journeyman. He's only had 12 fights.
Absolutely.
So Michael Bentt doesn't dally outside the ring. He gets right in here where it's warm, starts gesturing to Herbie Hide.
And remember, they had quite a to-do at the initial press conference.
And that was for real.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, will you please be upstanding for land of hope and glory?
Yes, indeed. 3 knockdown rule is in effect. There is no standing 8. Only the referee can stop the bout. There's a 10-point must-scoring system. The winner gets 10, the loser 9 or less. The referee doesn't figure in the scoring. The fighter can be saved only by the bell, only in the last round.
So with that, what's left is to get on with it. And we will be doing that momentarily. Once again, a little bit of a delay. And every bit of delay means these fighters cool down. And that really is important, especially with heavyweights where they can whack you.
Ladies and gentlemen, promoted by Bob Aaron on behalf of Top Rank Boxing and Valley Home for Matchroom Boxing and sponsored by the Thompson Directory, we now come to the main attraction of the evening, a heavyweight contest over 12 rounds each of 3 minutes duration for the WBO Heavyweight Championship of the world. From Orangeburg, New York, Roy Francis of England, your WBO supervisor in charge is Mark Schechner of Miami in Florida, and the four-corner ring is Paul Thomas of England. Ladies and gentlemen, introducing and presenting to you the boxers. First in the red corner with the white shorts, with a 100% career record of 25 wins, 25 contests, 24 inside the distance, and weighing in at 15 stone 6 pounds from Norwich, the reigning British heavyweight champion, the reigning WBC International champion, and the reigning WBO Pentacontinental champion, and challenger for the title, Herbie, the Dancing Destroyer, Hide! And ladies and gentlemen, his opponent in the blue corner with a black and the multi-trim shorts, with a professional record of 11 wins, 12 contests, 6 inside the distance, and weighing in at 16 stone 6 pounds. He lives in New York. He comes from East Dulwich, ladies and gentlemen. Will you welcome, please, the reigning WBO heavyweight champion of the world, Michael Bentt. Ladies and gentlemen, 12 3-minute rounds of boxing for the World Heavyweight Championship. I thank you.
You know what I expect? I expect a good clean fight. Obey my instructions at all times. Okay? Best of luck to both of you.
So we are set to go. And Michael Bentt finally gets rid of the bubble gum. I thought that would be another first. And Herbie Hide doffs the Yankees cap. I think the first round of this fight is going to be interesting.
It really will be, because it'll be a question of which man really wants to come out and bang. Hyde weighs a little less. He would seem quicker, and yet really it's Michael Bentt that has the boxing skills. We'll see who has the power.
So we're ready to go here at the Den, home of the Millwall Lions football team.
Herbie Hide, of course, has knocked out virtually everyone he's faced, and some of them quickly. And if not for Michael Bentt beating Tommy Morrison, we'd say he's right in the league with the guys he's been knocking out. And yet now we don't feel that way about him.
Yeah, it's interesting. Hyde really is not getting a lot of respect in the boxing community and amongst the heavyweight contenders, despite the fact that he does have certainly as impressive a record as a lot of them. And he has beaten that same caliber of competition that you were talking about.
Herbie is he's not really a slick boxer. He'll be there in front of you, trying to exchange. He's a very straight up and down fighter. Nice right hand by Herbie.
Very good, and I think that got Bentt's attention.
It sure did, and Michael Bentt has a history of getting hurt early in fights. Michael Bentt is not jabbing too much. That's an important weapon for him. Interesting thing is Hyde is making Michael Bentt come to him and wants to counterpunch him.
And Bentt just walking to him and not utilizing the jab very much. Hyde showing a pretty effective jab early in this fight.
His jab has been very good early on. And when Bentt gets on the inside, he's doing that, tying him up. Does not want to fight on the inside with Bentt.
Bentt missed with that right hand. Little head banging going on there too.
It's interesting, Paul Thomas warning Bentt, but the holding of Hyde is something that could at some point, and maybe should, get some kind of warning from him and could even equal points being taken away.
Another good right hand by Herbie Hyde.
He's an awkward puncher, but you can see he's kind of quick-handed.
interesting, Herbie Hide in his corner, they put a material on him that they put on marathon racers as soon as the race is over. What it does is it keeps the heat in, keeps them from dehydrating. And Hide comes out working the jab in the second round. Numbers in the first round, Hide was busier and landed a lot more. Bentt got there with only 4 punches.
It's interesting, and at 50% for Herbie Hide, if he keeps that up, he'll be very effective in this bout. Herbie Hide holds every single time Bentt gets on the inside. He's clear he just doesn't want to fight with him on the inside at all. It's interesting. I really thought Michael Bentt might box a little bit. He has become the stalker and has been made so by Herbie Hide.
Herbie Hide's been busier, been fighting the fight he wants to fight.
And not everybody thought that would be his fight. Many felt, as you did, that Hide would come in after him early.
Good right hand by Bentt.
The holding of Hide is blatant. I mean, and there's Paul Thomas giving him a caution. He's had 2 of those warnings, so points could start to be taken away.
And a right hand from Bentt again.
That holding's blatant. You got to start. You're going to take a point away pretty soon for that. Yep.
He's not only holding, he's pushing his head down at the same time.
Every time Bentt hits him with something.
Bentt really getting there with the right hand now, as Herbie Hide with a little bit of a lazy left.
Now, one of the things that Michael Bentt could do that he's not doing is double jab his way in and throw that right.
Michael Bentt stands to really make a big gain with a win in this fight.
Especially if it can be an impressive win. If he could knock Hide out, do so convincingly. Herbie Hide is as advertised. We were told by everyone from the tapes we watched, we could see that he's an awkward fighter who's ungainly, but gets there with a lot of punches, and to some degree, he's done that.
Herbie Hide not able to get to Michael Bentt in this round. As we come to the end of round number 2. Barry Tompkins, Al Bernstein, we're outdoors here at a place they call the Den. It is the Millwall Lions football stadium. Football, that is soccer football. And it is cold. Numbers in the last round. Herbie Hide, interestingly enough, threw 16 more punches and landed 16 more punches in jabs, not in total punches, that is.
Yeah, that's through round 2, and even in round 2, Hide landing more. Bentt has landed some good power punches, but interesting when you think that Herbie Hide is out jabbing Michael Bentt. That is not something you really expected to see here.
And working the jab here as we start the third round, too.
Michael Bentt looks, though, and of course, we caution you that early rounds are not his forte, but he still looks like a guy looking for one punch.
Oh, we talk about how being a champion can change you. Maybe it can also change you in a negative way, where all of a sudden you get the idea that you're a banger.
Well, and because he knocked Tommy Morrison out in the first round, and you can't throw a right hand better than the right hand he threw against Morrison, but remember this, Morrison was coming at him when he threw it. He's chasing Herbie Hide. He landed the perfect counter right hand against Morrison, and from there on in, it was target practice. He's chasing Herbie Hide, though. And the fans are not happy about Hide's tactics, I don't think. They want to see him mix it up a little more. Boy, I'll tell you what, though, his jab is working overtime.
Very effective.
And you know what? Even though what we're seeing is a little different than what we anticipated, as they say, where's it written that Herbie Hide can't box his way to a victory here?
Missed with that chopping right hand.
And one thing Michael Bentt's not doing at all Even though it's a small ring, he's not cutting the ring off on Hide. He's just following him around.
Good uppercut, and that jarred Bentt. And Bentt is in trouble, and down he goes. Boy, he just got up. Didn't look like he was that hurt, and he really had to hurry to beat the count.
Now remember, Bentt has been hurting down early before. Doesn't mean this fight's over.
He is still hurt, however. And now he fights off the ropes, and I think he got Hyde's attention. Might be a good idea to get out of that corner.
He just missed the counter left hook, Bentt. He's taking a pounding, though.
Took another right hand. He's in trouble again. Big shots from Herbie Hide. Bentt just covering up. And in big trouble in the corner. As this round winds down, Bentt is going to beat the round. But a huge round for Herbie Hide. And Bentt is in big trouble in his corner. They got a lot of work to do. It was an uppercut that started the whole thing.
From long range, no less, which is not where you normally throw that punch. And there's Michael Bentt, Eddie Mustafa Muhammad working with him. We'll take a look at it, and we'll see where it happened. Now, holding and hitting is what Hide was guilty of there, but he got away with it, and that was the punch that started it all for Michael Bentt. So it's interesting, an illegal maneuver, but it worked for Herbie Hide.
Boy, was it holding and hitting.
It was the most blatant kind you can have. But nevertheless, it hurt Michael Bentt, and once he got him hurt, he really went after him. And at this point, I'll tell you what, Bentt was in danger of having this fight stopped.
Yeah, because he almost turned his back on him, and usually when a fighter turns his back, he's done. Bentt is still in trouble. He still does not have strong legs. Fourth round. It has been owned by Herbie Hide. Starts him off with a left hook. Drives Bentt into the ropes immediately. Bentt is still in trouble.
And you know what, Barry? Michael Bentt has been, oh, he's waving Hide on, but that's just bravado. He has been a boxer before. Where are his legs? Normally, he would be using his legs to get out of there during this time.
And he was unable to get out of the corner in the last round, and he doesn't appear to be able to get off the ropes here. Big right hand again by Hide. Bentt takes another right hand.
He's getting hit with everything.
And now a little blood from the nose, but that's the least of his problems.
The Hide jab has been the key here. Herbie Hide's jab, better than I think anyone that has only seen a few clips of him, as I have, would have expected him to be.
Boy, and Bentt is just a target. I mean, he just can't get out of his own way right now. Try the uppercut. Was a little short with that one. Bentt still has no legs.
There has been, I would say, maybe 2 or 3 effective jabs from Michael Bentt in this bout. And let me tell you, you can go to the bank on that being the main reason why he has been so ineffective here.
Hyde in the last round, 36 of 64. It was a huge round for him, and he backs Bentt up again. And the jab again working beautifully for Hyde.
Finally, Bentt working and a lot of holding.
And a headbutt also.
Well, Hyde's complaining, but if you had to pick which man has used more illegal tactics, it's Hide in this fight. Bentt just walking in. There isn't even a hint of a jab.
Bentt's really puffing, too. And again, just walking in.
He's been clobbered. There's the jab from Bentt. That's what he needs. Instead, he just stands there. And when he throws the jab, it's not the kind of Michael Bentt jab we've seen in a couple of fights. It's a pawing jab.
Right hand by Bentt, but it was a wild right hand.
Something's wrong with Hide there on the rope.
Yes, he just doubled over.
Tell you what Herbie Hide does, too. He throws that uppercut from so far back. You should be able to hit him with the left hook when he does that. And that's the punch that started the problems for Bentt.
Coming to the end of round 4. Again, a round that Herbie Hide wins. Despite a good left hand at the bell. We start the 5th round. It's been owned by Herbie Hide. He jumps right on Michael Bentt. And Bentt continues to posture, but that's all it is.
And as long as Hide can fight from the outside like this, and Bentt doesn't jab, it'll be his fight as long as he doesn't tire. Herbie Hide's jab has been spectacular. Now, Michael Bentt has helped him because he stood straight up, no head movement, not slipping any, and been an inviting target. But nevertheless, Hide has made the most of that opportunity.
There's Hide grabbing again. Here are the totals through 4 rounds, and it's just no contest.
Yeah, Herbie Hide landing 61% of his punches. I mean, that's an absurd amount to be landing against a guy who was champion.
Hide hit him with a left hand, and Bentt's in trouble again, and another good left hand, and Bentt is just about gone. Hide with a right to the head. Bentt will cover up again. Hide another right to the head.
Bentt was putting his hand on the rope. He was waving to Hide to come in. Herbie Hide is showing tremendous smarts here. He is not being lured in where he can be counterpunched. He's picking his spots to land punches against Michael Bentt.
But Michael Bentt just looks like he has no legs, and he's looked like he's had no legs since the 2nd round.
And I'll tell you what, you have got to ask yourself very strongly, did Michael Bentt condition himself for this fight sufficiently?
Well, you know, I've been thinking the same thing. I thought maybe he looked a little soft, and I hate to say that because, very frankly, I don't remember what he looked like the last time I saw him. But for a guy who came in 2 pounds under what he was the last time, he didn't look it.
He has been unable to move, and even before he got hurt, and when he got hurt, for sure, he could have shown some of the movement. We even saw it in the Mark Wills fight where he could box a little bit, move around. And in his younger days, especially as an amateur, he was very much a superb boxer in terms of movement and the jab and all the rest. And maybe he felt he was a puncher after the Morrison thing, and boy, he found out otherwise, didn't he?
And Hyde's really picking him with the jab, too. Hyde's doing everything right.
And when you're not pressured, as Hide hasn't been too much, you can do this. And he's showing just enough movement to make Bentt follow him around.
Coming to the end of the 5th round, this for the WBO Heavyweight Championship. The fight has been owned by Herbie Hide. So we start round 6, and it's been no contest.
Herbie Hide has dominated this fight to an extent that I think would shock any boxing observer. Even given that Michael Bentt still may be somewhat of an unknown quantity after the Morrison fight and unproven, still this is surprising.
And look at the jabs through the first 5 rounds, Al.
Boy, Herbie Hide with 66 out of 107 landed, Bentt with only 22 of 57, and more importantly is that Bentt's only thrown 57 jabs.
And Herbie Hide landed 36 of his 44 punches, not just jabs, punches in the last round. That's 82%. Is he doing what he wants?
I guess. Now, just for a moment there was a smidge of movement from Michael Bentt. What a different fight this would be and could be if he would just move a little. And there, look, there's a jab. I mean, it's strategically, Michael Bentt came in fighting an awful fight, just plotting after Herbie Hide, not using the skills that he has. Whether that was the design, I don't know. And whether they expected Herbie Hide to be this much of a boxer and this elusive, I don't know. But nevertheless, strategically, Michael Bentt made problems for himself also.
Herbie Hide giving Michael Bentt just enough different looks.
Exactly, Barry. That is exactly it. Just enough movement so that Bentt can't get set to throw the jab in a straight right hand.
Now he's going downstairs, which he hadn't done before either.
And, you know, he's doing it in a small ring. I mean, Herbie Hide's doing it in a ring that's not more than 20 feet, I don't think. And Bentt still can't cut the ring off on him. See, look at how that right hand misses.
And Bentt's still following him around.
There were a lot of scenarios that people thought of for this fight. I don't know if this was one of them. Herbie Hide staying at long range, outboxing Michael Bentt, and hurting him to boot. Maybe portions of that might have been included, but not all of it. He has reduced Bentt now to lunging with the right hand and missing.
Took a left hook, did Bentt. Uh-oh, and his shoulder just popped. Herbie Hyde's shoulder just popped. You might have heard him scream.
I think he is saying that Michael Bentt bit him on the shoulder.
That may be. I think that's exactly right.
Remember when Jumbo Cummings did that? I think it was Joe Frazier. Somebody bit him on the shoulder. We don't know if this is true, but that's what Hyde is claiming.
I think it is, yeah, actually, because they wouldn't stop if his shoulder popped.
That was a warning for holding on to the rope by Herbie Hide. And it gave him extra leverage to go to that left hook. Let me tell you something about Herbie. He knows every trick, every single trick. We saw him hold and hit. We've seen him use the rope. He's a clever guy in there. Meanwhile, that jab just keeps on coming.
So we're in the corner of Herbie Hide now, and you see that foil product. It's not all tin foil. It keeps the heat in. Came in here with a good idea, and he's executing it perfectly.
He is boxing so superbly, using the jab, using enough movement to keep Bentt in trouble. And let's see if we can see where Michael Bentt maybe bit him.
And he screamed, you can see.
Wow. I don't think there's much doubt about that. Not from a reverse angle. Oh, yeah. Oh, man. There is no question about that. Wow. Well, I guess that would be the sign of a fighter that's a little desperate.
That's the sign of a fighter who's bitten off a little more than he can chew. And we're getting a little lecture here from Paul Thomas.
Now, I know that people complain about the food when they come over here in London, but that's a little ridiculous.
It's just as tough, though.
Yeah.
Total punches in round number 6, and it's just more of the same. Look at Michael Bentt only threw 15 punches out.
I tell you, this is as one-sided a match as you could imagine, and much more one-sided than we would have expected either way. And if it was going to be one-sided, we thought it would be an early knockout by one or the other.
And yet an admirable performance, very admirable performance for Herbie Hide.
Let me point out, too, that the only time he's gone 10 rounds, the distance, this is a 12-round, of course, was against Everett Bigfoot Martin last year. Mostly he gets guys out of there early, but he looks like a guy that's used to boxing like this.
Yeah, he really does. And the other thing that I really liked about him is he didn't waste a lot of punches. He knew when Bentt was hurt, and that's when he went after him, and he knew when he wasn't quite ready to go, and he utilized his punches very well. Paul Thomas, the referee, has had numerous discussions with the fighters and numerous warnings, and yet has shown, I think, a proper amount of restraint.
Yeah, there was a point where it could have taken points away from Hyde for holding, but he decided not to do so. And the biting thing, I don't even want to get into. Just don't want to deal with it.
Good right hand again from Hyde, and another right hand behind it, and Bentt holds on. He just caught Bentt off balance with that right hand.
The number of punches Michael Bentt is throwing is astonishingly low. Only 15 in the last round. In this round, he's not going to be much over that if he gets to that point.
And another warning, this one's for a low blow.
It's minor compared to some of the other stuff that's going on in this ring. And I'll tell you what, considering the amount of body punches he's come close to landing, Michael Bentt, it's not a significant point. But the Herbie Hide jab is, I mean, he is all...
Good right hand, right on the button. Down goes Bentt. I mean, he went down from a crashing punch.
You don't usually go down face first and get up, but he did.
It's over. All over. Now a dramatic win for Herbie Hide.
He got up, but not in time. Unbelievable. That is as definitive a win as anyone could ever want. Hey, the Brits have another title holder, even if it is the WBO.
And you got to take him seriously.
And you know why? As you looked at a disappointed Michael Bentt, for this man, Herbie Hide, the reason you have to take him seriously is the way he won. He showed the kinds of boxing skills that could beat some other heavyweights. He boxed his way to a victory and showed enough power in the process. And boy, is he basking in the glory now.
As well he should. Give him his moment.
There was enough rancor to go around before this fight happened. Michael Bentt postured for him before the fight, but it's Herbie Hide who gets the victory.
Boy, it was convincing from the first round.
Well, they didn't know Herbie Hide before this fight. Very few people did. They do now. And for those that will denigrate the victory and say, well, Michael Bentt just got lucky against Tommy Morrison, I say to them, he won his way to this fight by beating all the fringe heavyweights he was supposed to beat. And now he beat a guy who beat a guy in Tommy Morrison.
Absolutely. Family and friends gathering with Herbie Hide. The crowd was really bipartisan in this fight, too.
In many respects. But I think they erupted when Herbie Hide scored that shocking knockout. He is now their own, originally from Nigeria. This 22-year-old has a shot at making some major things happen for himself.
Really does. Michael Bentt trying to get to Herbie Hide now, and there they do, and traditional. Another look.
Here's how it ended. The right hand really stunned him, and then that and the hook sent him straight down, face down to the canvas. Amazingly, Bentt did get up, but did not quite beat the 10 count. Now, he fainted with the jab, and what made all this possible, Barry, is the fact that he had landed so many jabs before this. So when he fainted with that jab, he froze Bentt, and then he nailed him with the right hand.
Well, and you're right, too. You just don't see fighters go face down. I mean, that just doesn't happen.
And when they do, they usually stay there. And he did for the count. From yet another angle, the feint with the jab, hurt with the right hand, and then this second right will really get the job done. Wow.
Perfect. Well, that's as complete a performance as you're going to see in a heavyweight division, in any division for that matter.
He did very little wrong in this fight, Herbie Hide, and Michael Bentt, unfortunately, did not do many things right.
Take a look at the total punches thrown, and it tells you really everything you need to know about the fight.
A 67% landing rate, and it's not Bentt at 45. That's respectable. He just didn't throw enough.
And the total jabs in the fight, again, no contest.
That's really the story. If you're going to land that kind of jab, those numbers of jabs from the outside, and Michael Bentt is going to land so many fewer jabs, that's his game.
Ladies and gentlemen, in the 2 minutes 50 seconds of round 7, by count out, the winner and the new WBO heavyweight champion of the world, Herbie Hide.
He is a happy man, and he has every reason in the world to be. It was a complete victory for Herbie Hide, who keeps his record perfect, wears a championship belt, and now looks forward to a very big payday somewhere down the road. And I'll tell you what, I wouldn't bet against him. We'll be back. WBO heavyweight champion, and a name to remember, Herbie Hide, who right now is with Al Bernstein. Al.
Thank you, Barry. I am here with Herbie Hide. First, I have to say to you, it was a spectacular performance from the beginning. You really landed your jab. You landed at well over 50 or 60%. Was that your plan coming in?
Yeah, that was my plan coming in. I saw Michael Bentt. He destroyed Tommy Morrison. Tommy Herbie Morrison to me was a great fighter. Michael Bentt had a lot of amateur experience, and my game plan worked. I'm a good fighter. I'm 22 years old. I'm coming on. I'm not saying that I'm the best man in the world because I got the WBO title, but what I'm saying, I'm 22 years old. I've got a lot of time to improve, and I want to fight the man. I want to fight the man who beat the man who beat the man. That's with Evander Holyfield. He's my dream fight because he trains like I train like Evander Holyfield. I'm molding myself like Evander Holyfield because he's a cruiserweight who beat up himself to big heavyweight fighting, and I want to fight Evander Holyfield. That's a dream fight for me.
You moved up from cruiserweight, and you used what cruiserweights have, which is a lot of hand speed and a lot of movement. You used that very effectively tonight. I turned professional when I was 18 years old, and I grew up. As I get older, I get bigger. A year ago, I put over a stone on, so I'm getting bigger, maturing. Next year, by the time I get to Holyfield, I could be about 16 stone, and no one will call me I'm a small cruiserweight. You had some bad blood with Michael Bentt leading up to this fight. Did that help or hinder you in getting in there? Oh, he helped me. If Michael Bentt beat me, I wouldn't have walked in the street. I wouldn't have, because I was ready to die in that ring for Michael Bentt. I've never been. I said to this afternoon I came here, I saw my mom and my little brother. I cried because I knew I had to win. I was in toilet crying because I knew I couldn't lose to Michael Bentt after what he's done to me. He hit me in the street, and I cried. I hugged my mum. I was crying. There's no way Michael Bentt was going to beat me. And yet with the emotion going, you were able to stay to your game plan, which was pretty much to box him. Yeah, I'm a professional. I got a good trainer, Freddie King. I'm a good manager. And I'm a good thinker as well. A lot of people, all the British press said I wasn't going to do it, I wasn't the real deal. But I prepared myself, and I've beaten him. And you can't take nothing away from me. Who would you like to fight? Now, I know you want to get to Evander Holyfield, you say, but who would you next defend your WBO title against? Have you thought about that? I don't know. I'd like to meet with Holyfield because I want a unified division. I want to fight the man who beat the man. Holyfield is my dream fight. He, to me, is the best heavyweight in the world, and he's the guy I want to get to. He's going to be busy with Michael Moore. Do you expect him to beat Moore? Oh, yeah. Holyfield's a great heavyweight. He beat Moore, all right. I'll take care of him. Congratulations, Herbie. Thank you very much. America. Yeah, only in America. You know him now, Herbie Hide. He put on a great performance. We'll be back. We'll be back.
Football team. It's been a pretty good year for them. Well, it was a very good night for Herbie Hide. And it wasn't so much, Al, in my opinion, the fact that he beat Michael Bentt, but it was the way he beat Michael Bentt. A complete victory for him.
He did indeed. How's that story start out on a cold and stormy night? Well, it was a good ending for Herbie Hide tonight. Yeah, he dominated Michael Bentt, and he did it the way you're supposed to when you're a cruiserweight that comes up to the heavyweight division. Use your hand speed and your boxing ability. It's precisely what he did.
We were talking during Ringside Report about the rise of the British heavyweights, and Herbie Hide is certainly indicating that he is one of them, and at the forefront, perhaps.
By winning this match, and by winning it so convincingly, he has laid before himself some potentially big fights. There's Tommy Morrison out there, who Michael Bentt beat. There is Frank Bruno, who couldn't they fill a stadium if they were to fight? Frank Bruno is so well known, of course, also here in England. And then, of course, he said, I just want to go for the man, Evander Holyfield.
Yeah, he says he wants Evander Holyfield. Before we talk a little bit more about Herbie Hide's victory tonight, let's talk about Michael Bentt. He left the den in a way that we don't like to see any fighter leave, and that is in an ambulance. The story that we get is he was not responding completely to a physician in his dressing room after the fight. And so he is on his way right now to Whitechapel Hospital here in London. We, of course, will try to get some kind of report. I don't believe we will before we get off the air, but you never like to see that.
No, a terrible night for Michael Bentt. He took a real pounding in the ring, and, of course, it would be compounded if there were any serious injuries. But for him, a very disappointing night. He had hoped to make this his springboard to bigger and better things in boxing. We hope first that he'll be healthy, and that if he is, that he can return to boxing and still make his mark as a heavyweight.
Herbie Hide made a couple of interesting points in your interview with him. One, that he's just 22 years old, and two, and you never hear this from a fighter, he said, I'm not the best heavyweight around right now, but I do have a championship belt, and hey, right now the world's his oyster.
He made that clear coming in here, and we saw it in the soundbite we had at the beginning of our show. He understands that he is still learning some of the things, but what we saw here tonight was a guy that looks a little ungainly the way he throws punches, but clearly has the athletic ability to jab, move, and do all the things in the ring that you need to do if you're going to box your way to victories in the heavyweight division.
Nice thing about the guy, too, is this is a guy who, by his own admission, says, maybe I'm not quite ready yet. As a result of that, he goes in with a game plan, and he executes the game plan. He's not above all of that.
And he did it at a time when there was a lot of emotion going on. He was mad at Michael Bentt because they had their problems before the fight. He had a crowd here rooting him on. It was a difficult evening in terms of the environment, yet still, with all that, he had enough presence of mind to stay with what he knew would win for him.
Very quickly, who do you think he should fight next?
I'd like to see him in there against maybe Tommy Morrison, or how about Frank Bruno? I think that'll be fun for this country.
Well, there's a lot of big paydays out there and a lot of exciting fights in the offing. That's a wrap for us from here in London. From my partner, Al Bernstein, I'm Barry Tompkins. We'll see you next week in Tulsa.